Hello again, everybody. Time for maths now, so let's press on. We were thinking last week, weren't we, about statistics, and particularly we looked at tally charts and pictograms. We began looking at pictograms. So I want you to start today's session then just with a bit of a recap of what we learned about on, I think, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday of last week. So have a quick go at these questions. We've got one and two on tally charts, and then question 3 was just that little kind of introduction to pictograms that we've looked at previously. So pause the video here, you can say your answers out loud and come back when you're done. So we know, don't we, that for every, did it change the, I think it might have done, sorry about that. I just noticed the, when I sort of flick between those, one of the tallies is out of place, isn't it? So I think you've probably written down 8 there, so you can safely ignore that. Apologies. So that's 8. We know, don't we, that when we've got groups of 5, when we've got 5 tallies like that with a gate across the middle, they're worth 5. So we've got there 5, 10, 15, and then 2 more, so that's 17. And hopefully when you're drawing tallies of your own, you've drawn your 1, 2, 3, 4, and then your gate across for 5, and then 1, 2, 3 more for 8. And for your 16, you've got hopefully 3 groups of 5 for 15, and then 1 more for 16. Looking here for question 3 for our pictograms, if one blue circle represents 10, what's represented by these different amounts? So for A, we've got 2 lots of 10, so that's 20. For B, we've got 4 lots of 10, so that's 40. For C, we've got half of one picture, haven't we? It's not that we're going to have half, but it's going to be half of 10. So in this case, we've got 5. And then for D, we've got 2 lots of 10 and then half of 10. So 2 lots of 10 is 20, half of 10 is 5. So it's there 25. Okay, today then we're going to carry on looking at pictograms, and we're going to think about a few more of these and see what else we can learn from this. So here we've got a pictogram. What do you think this one's showing then? It's got the information there. This is about the number of dogs seen on different days of the week. And in this case, our key, one little cute dog there is worth 10 dogs. So it's not that Monday is 2 dogs, it's that it's 2 symbols and each symbol is worth 10. So let's read this through together then. How many dogs were seen on Wednesday? Let's have a look then. We've got 3 symbols, each worth 10, so it's 30, isn't it? 30 dogs. How many were seen on Thursday? A little bit trickier. We've got 1.5 symbols there, haven't we? So we've got 1 lot of 10. Is it 10.5 then? Because we've got 1 lot of 10 and then half as well. Is 10.5 the right answer? No, we've got 10 and then half of a symbol. So that half of a symbol doesn't mean half a dog was seen. That would be quite a tragic trip to the park. It means half a symbol. So in this case, half of 10, it's 5. So 10 plus 5 is 15. Here we've got a couple of people talking about this. How many more dogs were seen on Wednesday than on Tuesday? Okay, a couple of ways we could solve this. So we're going to look at a couple of different strategies. Maybe first of all, though, you can pause the video here and see which strategy you use to solve this. So how many more dogs were seen on Wednesday than were seen on Tuesday? Stop here and have a think. So a couple of strategies we could have used then. This person says, I will subtract to find the difference. So this person worked out what it was for Wednesday, which is 30, worked out what it was for Tuesday, which is 10. So she did 30, take away 10. She knows that the difference is 20. That's one way we could have done it. But there is another way as well. Let's have a think about what that other strategy is. They were trying to find out how many more dogs were seen on Wednesday than on Tuesday. So her strategy, we talked about this, 30 dogs were seen on Wednesday, 10 were seen on Tuesday. So she did 30, take away 10 is 20. We have got another way, and that's actually looking at the difference. We can look at sort of what they both had in common. So in this case, they both had 1 symbol in common, and we can actually kind of discount those because we're trying to find the difference, aren't we? So we can kind of forget about those symbols that they did have in common and just focus on these 2. So these two were the difference. Those were what was more. Those two were what was more on Wednesday than on Tuesday. So let's think about that same skill now, about looking at what's more, how many more. So I want you to pause the video here and just have a bit of a discussion at home or a bit of a think on your own, trying to say some of these things out loud. What do you notice about our graph here? And what I mean by that, our pictogram, what I mean by that is say what this pictogram tells you. So yes, we can say how many goals each of these 5 children scored, but we can also say some other things, can't we? We can also say how many goals were scored in total from all of them. We can also say how many more goals some people scored than other people. So I want you to be trying to think about that skill of looking at how many more. And again, there's 2 ways we could do that. We could find the total of both and then use subtraction, or we could look at the difference. So for an example there, if I was looking at Mo and Rosie, I would look at the difference between Mo and Rosie's total here, and then that would be how many more Rosie had scored compared to Mo. So pause the video here, try to say as many different things as this graph tells you. So think about each player's individual score, the difference between some of them, the totals, see how many different things we can say from this graph. Okay, so what can we say then? There's loads of different things we could say. We could say Rosie, good old Rosie, best at football. She's scored the most goals. She scored 6. We could say that Jack had scored 1. We could have found out the other players' scores as well. So Alex, 2 symbols, each worth 2. So that's 2 lots of 2, or 2 times 2. So Alex scored 4. We could say Mo scored 4 and then 1 more. So Mo scored 5. We could say Whitney scored 3. We can also talk about who scored more goals and by how many more. So in this case, Mo scored 2 more goals than Whitney. So the difference between Mo and Whitney was 1 football, and that's worth 2. We could say things like Alex scored 3 goals more than Jack. And we could also have talked about the total, couldn't we? We could have added all of those up. Now, there's a couple of ways we could have done that. We could have counted each individual score, so Alex 4 plus Jack's 1 plus Mo's 5 and so on. Or we could have counted up all the different footballs together. So I could have counted up all the whole ones first of all. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 whole footballs. And because they're worth 2 each, 8 times 2 is 16. Plus 1, 2, 3 half footballs, which were worth 1 each. So a total of 19. A couple of ways we could have done that. Last one we'll look at together then. Here are a couple of pictograms to show the results of Ron and Amir's games. So maybe a little bit like Leo and AJ at home playing Mario Kart together. Ron and Amir have been playing some video games at home. They've tallied up their scores with pictograms. Might be a fun thing to do at home for you today, actually. If you have a game where you're kind of scoring points, you can make a pictogram of it yourself. So let's have a look at the questions. How many points did Ron score overall? So let's use that key. It says 1 smiley face was equal to 5 points. So how many points did Ron score overall? Let's have a look. So we've got, for Ron's, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 symbols. Each one was worth 5 points. So what calculation are we going to do there? 6 times 5. We could count up in 5s if you wanted. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. That's 6. So 30 for Ron's points. Who scored the most points overall? So again, we can do some counting here. We can count up all of Ron's points overall. We know that's 30. We can count up Amir's points overall. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 symbols, each worth 5. So we could use our multiplication knowledge. We know that 7 times 5 is 35. Or we could have counted up in 5s for each symbol. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, both get us the same answer. So who got most then? Ron's 30 or Amir's 35? It's Amir, isn't it? So we've got Amir, Amir's got the most points. And also, I've given it the answer away there, haven't I? In which game was the most points scored? Again, we can count up the symbols. It's game 1. Okay, time for you to have a go at these yourself now. Now, just firstly, a quick apology from me. I think particularly pictograms like this don't lend itself particularly well to our video format where you've got to kind of scroll back and forth between different parts of the video to see it. So apologies for that. Hopefully though, not having to have things printed out across all of our home learning is kind of is making up for that. That's our kind of trade-off there. That means you don't have to have things printed off, but sometimes you've got to do a bit of scrolling back and forth. So apologies for that. But I've got all the slides we need here. So here is our pictogram. Your questions are on the next page. Good luck with this, and I'll see you back at the end of the video for the answers. Okay, thanks everybody. So here are your answers for today's learning. Well done on that. I'm sure you're getting on really well with your pictograms. And like I said earlier in the video, this is something you could maybe do at home. You could make a pictogram for your video games. You could do pictograms for your toys. See what you come up with. Have fun with that, and I will see you back later on for today's PSHE lesson.